Hello, everyone. This BiblioBibuli review comes courtesy of you guys. A few of our subscribers suggested that we read the incredibly popular new fantasy novel, Fourth Wing, by Rebecca Yarros, published in mid-2023. I did not know anything about this book. I'd never even heard of this book, but I knew it was a New York Times bestseller and apparently blew up on TikTok. So I thought, okay, we'll read it. We'll see what's up. I guess the hype, and we take your suggestions seriously. So here we go. This segment of my review is going to be critical and spoiler free. I will launch into my uncensored thoughts and comments about this book afterwards. Let me start by saying, if you loved this book, that's great. Good for you. If you will be offended by anything I have to say, maybe don't watch this. And maybe don't watch the later part of this review. So, on to it. Fourth Wing takes place at Basgiath. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. We're going with it. War College, set in a fictional fantasy world. Violet Sorrengail is our main character, and her mother, the top general in this world's military, is forcing her into the Dragon Riding Academy. Dragon Riders, I thought. That should be cool, I thought. This puts Violet in a world of danger, and she has some sort of disability that makes her body brittle and break. And she's smaller than everyone else. And there are fewer dragons than there are cadets, so the students will be killing each other in order to get a dragon. That's just a thing that happens. They try to kill each other to obtain and bond with a dragon. In the midst of this, there are two characters that are worth mentioning. We have Dane, Violet's overprotective and handsome childhood best friend. And then we have Xaden, a dark and mysterious upper-level student who, for backstory reasons, wants Violet dead. I won't say any more in case you haven't read the book, so I'll just keep it there. So the entire story is centered around whether Violet will survive, will she get to bond with a dragon, and what dark secrets is Xaden hiding? Now, what did I think? This book is not good. The world building is vague and almost non-existent. The language the characters use take you out of the world with attempts at modern phrasing. Descriptions of modern clothing like t-shirts and shorts, alongside other descriptions of things like riding leathers, really set a strange tone. Do they dress like modern people, or is there some kind of fantasy dress that's unique to the world? The author cannot seem to decide. This might sound nitpicky, but it's little details like this that are either going to immerse you in the world or really take you out of it. The characters themselves are all one-dimensional, and they exhibit some very on-the-nose tropes. This book has been applauded for having a main character with a disability, but the disability is vague at best, and it has no impact on Violet's character arc whatsoever. It's just non-existent. Speaking of character arcs, no one has one. Not a single character has any kind of arc whatsoever. Violet suffers from one of the most severe cases of Mary Sue syndrome and chosen one-itis that I've ever seen. Dane is handsome douche in disguise, and Xaden is bad boy with a secret heart of gold. All of the foreshadowing is very clunky. I figured out all the plot twists before I was even a third of the way through the book. And as I was reading it, I was thinking, oh, it's going to be this. I hope it isn't. And then it ended up being that. And I was really disappointed with every single one of them. The novel is marketed as new adult fantasy. So Violet and company are all supposed to be in their early 20s. But Violet very much reads like a 14-year-old girl. And the fantasy is barely there. It's a thin veneer for the cringe-inducing romance that plays out. All of that being said, there was one thing I liked. Kind of. The dragons themselves, when they show up, they are the best part of the book. And even at that, the author was not very creative at all with them. Names and descriptions of the dragons are just as vague and uninspired. If the author spent half as much time on the details of the dragons as she does describing Xaden sparring shirtless, I might have liked the dragons more. Alas. So, I can't recommend this book. I don't want to inflict it upon anyone. It took everything I had to get through it. I had to push through this book. It's easily the worst book I've read this year, and honestly, probably one of the worst books I've ever read. At this point, I am going to go into a spoiler-filled rant about this book. So if you do not want that in your life, and you do not want to hear me say what I really want to say about this book, stop now. Go no further. Otherwise, come along with me, and I will lay it out here what I really think. Oh my god. These sticky notes are all of the things that I wrote as I was reading this book. WTF with this description was one of them. The writing is so clunky. The first time we see Xaden, this is the description we get. He's tall, with wind-blown black hair and dark brows. The line of his jaw is strong and covered by warm, tawny skin and dark stubble, and when he folds his arms across his torso, the muscles in his chest and arms ripple, moving in a way that makes me swallow. And his eyes are the shade of gold-flecked onyx. The contrast is startling, jaw-dropping even. Everything about him is. His features are so harsh that they look carved, and yet they're astonishingly perfect, like an artist worked a lifetime sculpting him, and at least a year of that was spent on his mouth. He's the most exquisite man I've ever seen. And then we get this. Even the diagonal scar that bisects his left eyebrow and marks the top corner of his cheek only makes him hotter. Flaming hot, scorching hot, gets you into trouble and you like it level of hot. What is that? What is that? That's not a 20-year-old. That is a 14-year-old who is just losing her mind over some dude. Like, we don't even get descriptions like this of the we get like 2 sentences of description in the dragons, but we get all this about Xaden, who apparently hates her. This is supposed to be like enemies to lovers, but he hates her for like 2 seconds, and then the rest of it is just sexual tension and buildup throughout the rest of the novel. And then we get these sex scenes out of nowhere that are just like full on. Just, I wasn't ready for the fingering and the intensity of all that. Whoa, I wasn't ready. And I'm not hating on sex scenes in books, but for God's sake, can you write them well? And can you not make them come like out of nowhere so that I'm like jarred by them? Oh, yeah. So Violet, in and of herself, it's the biggest Mary Sue I have ever seen. She's super teeny tiny. She's so small, you guys. She's so small. How is she ever gonna survive at the super big dangerous war college? Because she's so small. And meanwhile, Xaden is like 1,000 feet tall. So she's teeny tiny, and he's really huge. Because that's cute, I guess. Half of her hair is silver, and the other half is brown. And the whole thing is about bonding with dragons, right? You gotta bond with a dragon. That's how you're gonna make it. She's worrying her head off about being bonded with a dragon. And meanwhile, we get these descriptions that there are the dragons. The dragons. I'm sorry. This is all over the place, but it's hard to. It's just. The dragons are all different colors, so they're called a red, an orange, a brown, and then they are then described by what kind of tail they have. So you could have a sword tail or a dagger tail, or in one instance, not kidding here, morning star tail. So there's one dragon. He's the biggest, rarest, most powerful dragon. He's black. He's a morning star tail. And he hasn't bonded with anyone in forever. So who do we think he bonds with? Teeny tiny, kind of broken Violet, right? Of course. And then, not only does she bond with the biggest, baddest dragon, But then she also bonds with another dragon. She bonds with 2 dragons. A teeny tiny golden dragon called a Feathertail. And I swear to God, it is so obvious that that dragon is a baby dragon. And everyone just like, oh, it's just a tiny Feathertail. Blah, blah, blah. No, it's a baby dragon. And then guess what? We find out later, it's a baby dragon. So Violet she's just the chosen specialist one, guys. Bonding with a dragon also gives you like a magic power. Dane can read your memories and your thoughts if he touches you. Somebody else can astrally project. There's like all kinds of stuff people can do. What does Violet get to do? She gets to wield lightning. We haven't heard that one before, have we? And then Xaden wields shadows. Boy, we haven't heard that before either, have we? And so you've got Xaden the shadow wielder and Violet the lightning wielder. And the entire book is all about whether or not Xaden and Violet are going to go to the Shadow and Bone Zone. That's the book. Now, because Violet is so broken, she has to use her wits and her smarts. And, like, she's the smartest one in the year. She's the Hermione. She's an idiot. She's so GD stupid. Like, I'm trying so hard not to curse, guys. She's so dumb. Zane, whatever. All these character names are so stupid. Dane can somehow, he like knows everything that's going on and he figures it all out. And because he can read your mind if he touches you. And like throughout the whole book, he's constantly like grabbing her chin and grabbing her, touching her and all this stuff. And it takes till all the way to the end of the book for her to figure out, Dane's been reading my mind the entire time. So smart, guys. So smart. She's so smart. And the disability thing, honestly kind of pissed me off because I was like, oh, okay, we got a character with a disability. We're going to see how that limits her. We're going to see how she comes up with these creative solutions. And then, no, nothing. She just pushes through it and trains real hard. And then she gets better. Like, what? What? It's like the disability isn't even there. And it was like, what's the point of even putting it in there? Because it literally has no impact on anything. Oh, and one of the things that Violet does when she gets nervous to calm herself down is she repeats facts in the history books that she's read because she was supposed to go into the scribe quadrant and become like a historian. So she knows the entire history of the country and blah, blah, blah. So when she gets nervous, she like spits out bits of information. It is the laziest piece of info dumping I've ever seen. And honestly, like, it's not even interesting to read. It's not good. It's such a bad way to shoehorn in information about the world. And the biggest plot twists are the fact that her dead brother is still alive and that the monsters that she read about in her fairy tale book when she was a kid are actually real. The fairy tale book gets mentioned at the very beginning. It's about how she read it cover to cover. Her dad gave it to her. She knew it better than anyone else. And it's all these stories about the wyverns and the Venin. They are people who didn't bond with dragons and they started to take magic from the source of the land, and they're evil and they're bad and they've created wyverns and they're awful. And it turns out that they're actually real. Oh my God. They're real. And the entire kingdom, whatever, has set up these wards that are like a big wall to keep the bad guys out. And the only way to kill one is with a special black dagger that you stab them with.
Must be dragon glass.
So you have some kind of supernatural enemy that you're keeping out of your kingdom with a wall that you can only kill using a very special kind of weapon. And your main character has half silver hair and multiple dragons. This almost is bordering on plagiarism to me a little bit. Like, George R. R. Martin might be able to say a thing or two here. And that's one of the biggest problems I have with this book. It copy and pastes so much from so many places. Like, there is nothing original in here whatsoever. The writing is so bad. Violet, at one point, there is a line where she goes, I gifted him the middle finger. And she just says fuck a lot. Like, every other word out of all these characters' mouths is fuck and shit. Like, I don't care about swearing in books. I don't. Fill it with expletives if you want. If the character would believably say it, make it purposeful. This is just expletives for expletives' sake. It feels awkward. It feels shoehorned in. It's chunky and clunky. It doesn't fit, like, and honestly, it takes you out of the fantasy element of it. It very much reads like bad YA in every sense of the word. Let's see. One more. Like, Violet reads just like a horny teenager all over the place. Like, heat rushes up my neck and flames lick my cheeks as he lowers his face so his lips are only inches away from mine. I can make out every speck of gold in his onyx eyes, every bump and ridge of his scar. Beautiful fucking asshole. My breath catches and my body warms, the traitorous bitch. You are not attracted to toxic men, I remind myself, and yet here I am, getting all attracted. I have been since the first second I saw him, if I feel like I'm being honest. What is that? What is that? That is garbage, is what that is. That's terrible. She also writes later, I would climb that man like a tree. Like, who says these things? This is, it's so bad, guys. It's so bad. It's so bad. I can't take it. Let's see. Oh, the rules make no sense. Okay, so there are more dragons than there are cadets. We have a war going on. So we need all the recruits that we can get. And yet, it is perfectly okay for the students to just kill each other. What? So you have a class of 300 that then shrinks down to like 70. But we need more soldiers. But we're going to let them all kill each other. It doesn't make sense. If you're building a world and you want to give it that like Hunger Games vibe of we're all going to kill each other, make it make sense, for Christ's sake. This makes no sense. None of this all makes sense. Oh, and I forgot to talk about the dead brother. So her brother died 5 years ago. And then some shit happens and they find out that the vending are real and they go beyond the wall to kill the others. I'm sorry, wrong book. And they get in this big fight. And then it turns out at the very, very end, her brother is alive and he's leading the resistance movement because Violet has finally come to terms with, oh, maybe we're the bad guys the whole time. Oh, and the very last line of this book is her brother going, "Welcome to the revolution, Violet." Vomit. Are you kidding me? Oh, it was so anticlimactic. I was waiting for I was like not even 100 pages in and I was like, her brother's not dead. The vending are real. She's going to fall in love with the bad boy. Dane is going to turn out to be an absolute dick, which he does. And it's going to be a weird love triangle. The more the love triangle developed, the more disgusting it made me. And it all culminates in these sex scenes where now all Xaden and Violet have done is shown sexual attraction to each other. But they have sex once and now they're in love. When they have sex, she can't control her powers. So when she orgasms, she shoots, like she creates lightning outside. What? Oh. And this is the best part. So she bonds with her dragon. Xaden has his dragon. Xaden's dragon and Violet's dragon are bonded to each other. They're mates. They're lovers. Which means now that they can never be apart, because if a dragon is apart from its lover for more than 3 days, it dies. And then I guess if your dragon dies, you die. The rules are never really fully explained. I'm not 100% clear on everything because they don't explain everything. Shit just happens and then you're just supposed to accept it as, oh, that's what happened. Okay. So when the dragons want to get it on, Violet and Xaden can feel it, and it makes them also horny. So their dragons being horny makes them horny.
Why does it feel better now? Oh, I hope it's not because you're watching, but don't go anywhere.
This is literal slut dragon. It's literally slut dragons. I knew I wasn't going to like this book. I just kind of had a feeling. I thought it'll be all right. It won't be my favorite, but it'd be all right. I am shocked by how bad this book is and by how many people have read this and thought, I love this so much, I'm going to make fan art out of it. Who is reading this and thinking it's good? What is wrong with you guys? What has happened? I could barely read this. I had to force myself to finish reading this book. Honestly, Twilight was better. Like, the writing is just so bad. Like, I can't even, I've said it 1,000 times. The writing is so bad. And this woman has written like 15 books, and I'm going, woo. The writing is so bad, guys. It's so bad. Just all the praising for how smart Violet is and this and that. I swear to God, they mention how small she is on every page. So small, so frail, so fragile. I don't know if this was good or bad. I don't know if this rant was gives you anything. I don't know if this is. I don't know. I feel like if I think about it, I'll think of more things to complain about. But because my God, is there a lot to complain about in this book? But the bad writing, the bad romance, the slut dragons, the Mary Sue chosen oneness of Violet, the awful romance, the terrible sex scenes that are very uninspired, the rip-off between Shadow and Bone Society and A Song of Ice and Fire. Oh my goodness. Just, this was a hard no. And we've got the second one, and I'm like, I don't know if I can read the second one, to be honest. I don't know if I can do it. Because I have a friend who told me she read the second one, and if you didn't like the first one, the second one's worse. Oh, I don't know if I can do it. If you guys enjoyed this and you do want me to read the second one just to see what I think, and you want me to rant even more, by all means, let me know. Should I read Iron Flame or not? Anyway, no more ranting. I'll see you guys another time. Bye.
I'm bonding!